Welcome to Rick Rack Ruby. I'm Laura Cluvo. Today we will be making a gift sack from 10-inch layer cake squares. This is the Dear Christmas collection from Moda, and this project also features a foundation pieced house on the front. It's fun and easy, so let's get started. For this little patchwork house, I'm going to start with a foundation. This is a 2-inch square to start. This will be the door of the house. I'm going to use jelly roll strips to create this project. So next I'm going to add the sides. I would like for this red to be at the top, and I also want red to be beside the door, so it sort of extends the door a little bit. I think that would be cute. So I'm going to trim this a little bit so that the white squares are going to go down. And when I stitch my 1/4-inch seam allowance, I'll be very close to where the white meets the red. And I think that's going to look best. Great. Now the trick is to remember to put the red at the top on this side, which is a little bit trickier, but this strip looks straight, but you can tell when you get over here that it's not straight at all. So I'm not going to worry about it too much, but I'm going to trim this edge right here, even with the red. That should be enough. And then I'll set it like this and stitch it so that if I fold it back, I have the red at the top and the red on the side. I just think that's going to look the best. Full disclosure, I did come in a little bit more than 1/4 of an inch just because I wanted to be stitching right on the edge between the two colors. So I'll press that and I'll be right back. I'm going to do a machine feather stitch down both sides. When I'm working with a collection, I like to really feature the special qualities of the different fabrics, and this really is the focal piece of the collection, and so I want to show this little deer. And I thought it would be really fun to place the deer right above the door. It's kind of like a window or something like that above the door. And the trick is to find the deer that's placed right on the edge. This is a little too big. Ideally, I would like it to be about, maybe about, that might work actually. Ooh, I think this one's perfect. Okay, let's use this one right here. So this is kind of like fussy cutting where you lose a lot. And it's okay because this is going to be really cute. So I want to center the deer over the door. So I'll do a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance and just hope for the best. Okay, I'm really in suspense. Let's see. Oh, it looks really good. Okay, I'll press. I've pressed and now I'll trim this just to kind of get my bearings. Now I'm going to do a double zigzag along this seam. Now for the roof, I was going to use this one with the bells. I want to be sure that my bells are going to be right side up. For the roof, we will leave about 1/4 of an inch of the top of the deer fabric showing. And then just line this up and stitch across with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'll press this and I'm going to add some embroidered scallops. So I'm going to embroider the scallops along the roof, as many rows as I can, or that as many rows as look good. And you can look at your machine stitches and see if you have something similar. If not, you can do some zigzags or X's or satin stitches or anything you like. I got 4 rows of embroidered scallops. And now I'm going to trim the excess fabric away from my foundation. It's cute, it's cheerful, I love this. Now I'm going to make this into a gift bag. So I've selected the green. I have the Christmas lights. I just had to find one where I like to match them up, right? So 2, 2, and 2. So let's see. We can use this. Ooh, that's nice. I think that's going to be the winner. This is the winner. This is a 10-inch square, and of course we have a 5-inch house. So I think I'm going to set it, this is 5, so there should be 2.5 on either side, 2.5, 2.5, okay, boop, about right there. I think this is about right. There's a little bit more than 3 inches and a little bit less than 2 inches. I'm going to zigzag around the edge, and I'm going to keep the off-white thread in my machine. I kind of like to see the evidence of the sewing. And so I'll just zigzag around this whole thing. I'm going to use this for the cuff and this for the lining. So I'm going to seam these up, 1, 2, 3. So I've got the front, the cuff, and the lining, and then the back, the cuff, and the lining. I'm going to press all the seam allowances open. Now starting at the bottom of the lining, I'm going to pin and stitch all the way around, leaving an opening here in the bottom of the lining. I'll match up all these seams, pin and stitch, leaving an opening, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've pinned and stitched, leaving an opening in the bottom here. I've stitched all the way around. Now I'm going to trim off the 4 corners, just the seam allowance. Just that little bit right there. So we can get a crisp corner. I'll open up the seam allowances like this. And I'm going to stitch straight across here, about 1 inch from the point. I'm not going to leave the pin there. That was just to show you. So it looks like this, and then I'll trim that point. So I have still about 1/4 inch there. Then I'll repeat for all 4 corners. There we go. My corners are all boxed out, and I'm going to reach in through this opening and grab onto the bottom and pull this right side out. And now I'm going to fold the seam allowance into the inside, pin, and just top stitch across here to close the opening. This is what I mean by top stitching. It's not the most professional way to finish the inside of a bag, but it's way down in the bottom of the lining, and there's no reason why anyone would ever see it. Now I'm going to tuck the lining down inside. I'm reaching into the corners. I'm making sure the corner of the lining is right there at the corner of the front and back of the bag. There we go. There's the cuff. There's the bottom, there's the back. Now I'm going to press this top edge so that the top of the cuff is nice and crisp. Now I'll sew a 1/2 inch casing at the top of the bag. I'm going to switch my thread. Hopefully I have something this color. To be honest, after I switched the thread to green on my machine, I finished up the bag and I forgot to turn the camera back on. Sorry. Anyway, it turned out great. I added a little lace flower for the doorknob, but in the meantime, I really wanted to make a blue one. Even though I didn't quite have enough of every fabric, I just kind of made do. I switched. The back doesn't exactly match the front and the linings don't match either, but it's all right. I like the way it turned out, and I especially like the way that the red looks against the blue. I just love that combination. So anyway, I'm going to sew the casing. I'm caught up and I'm going to do it about a 1/2 inch below the fold here, and I'm sewing from the inside. There we go, there's the casing. And now I've got a tapestry needle and a nice long piece of 1/16 inch ribbon. It's about 1.5 yards. And I'm going to just run this through the casing. I'll just start on let's call this the front of the seam. See, it's right inside. And then I'll just work it through. It takes a minute. And there are tools you can use to do this. But right now this is handy. And I'll just work that through. Whenever I reach the opposite seam here, I want to make sure the needle doesn't get hung up in any of the seam allowance. I just want to make sure it's going right through the center there, which it is, no problem. Then I'll exit on the other side of that seam. I'll pull it all the way through. I gotta hold on to one end. I'll tie these in an overhand knot. Then I'll repeat for the other side. So this time I'll start over here on the opposite side, insert the needle, making sure that it doesn't poke all the way through. And again, this is a tapestry needle, so it has a very blunt tip. And here we are, back to the start. So I just poke that through. I'm gonna hold on to this end. To create the pattern for the foundation for the patchwork house, start with a 5-inch square of graph paper. Fold it in half. This is 4 squares to the inch. So count over 4 squares, make a mark here, and then count down 6 squares, and then just connect the dots, cut off those corners, and open it up. Then cut the shape from 50 weight Pellon sew-in interfacing, and you're ready to go. Thank you for watching my tutorial. If you're enjoying my videos, please like, share, and subscribe.